The big international push is for the ceasefire to be extended at the very least, perhaps even permanent if the planets align. But the trend lines demonstrate that if the release of more hostages held by Hamas is agreed, Israel will hold back on the resumption of its military operations in Gaza.
The people of Gaza are in the midst of an epic humanitarian catastrophe before the eyes of the world. We must not look away. Intense negotiations are taking place to prolong the truce, which we strongly welcome. But we believe we need a true humanitarian ceasefire. And we must ensure the people of the region finally have a horizon of hope by moving in a determined and irreversible way towards establishing a two-state solution on the basis of United Nations resolutions and international law.
China holds the rotating presidency of the Council for November and was emphatic that it was against a return to hostilities in Gaza, calling for a comprehensive and lasting ceasefire.
There is no firewall in Gaza either. And resumed fighting would only most likely turn into a calamity that devours the whole region. What happened between Palestine and Israel over the decades show, time and again, that resorting to military means is definitely not a way out, and addressing violence with violence will only exacerbate hatred and confrontation and lead to a ceaseless, vicious cycle. China strongly hopes that the past days of pause will not be a hiatus before a new round of offensive, but rather the beginning of further diplomatic efforts for a comprehensive and lasting ceasefire.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Israel's envoy told the Council that were Hamas to release all the hostages and hand over those involved in the October 7th attack on Israel, then the war could end immediately, as he rejected the very notion of a permanent ceasefire under current conditions.
How would you respond and defend your citizens from such a clear threat? With a ceasefire? How can one call for a ceasefire and at the same time claim to seek a solution to the conflict? After all, anyone who supports a ceasefire basically supports Hamas' continued reign of terror in Gaza. Hamas is a genocidal terror organization. They don't hide it. Not a reliable partner for peace. Don't you see the contradiction here? Calling for both a ceasefire and peace is a paradox.
Palestine's top diplomat struck a different tone as he pressed for the truce to become permanent.
The massacres cannot be allowed to resume. This is not a war. This is a carnage that nothing and no one can justify. It must be brought to an end. Mr. President, we had said early on that the humanitarian catastrophe cannot be prevented. People held captive cannot be released. Regional escalation cannot be avoided without a stop to the Israeli assault against the Palestinian people in Gaza. What we see now confirms what we have said then. Thousands of lives could have been spared. The momentum we are finally witnessing now must be sustained.
Qatar's Prime Minister, a key mediator and part of a group of Arab and Islamic envoys travelling to the countries of the 5 permanent members to lobby the Palestinian question, gave no indication in the chamber if and when the truce might be extended.
This truce has also made way for more humanitarian aid that are badly needed in the Gaza Strip. We would like to thank the members of the Security Council for welcoming those efforts, and we hope that the progress made should underpin the upcoming efforts to put an end to the bloodshed and to lead ultimately to serious discussions that would relaunch a political process, to put an end to the suffering of the Palestinian people and to realize the aspirations of the Palestinian people.
And while a two-state solution is the long-term goal, peace in the short term would be a key stepping stone towards this decades-long aspiration. Sherwin Bryceby's SABC News, New York.